Thank you so much, Varsha, for being here on my channel today. Well, the floor is yours. You can start with your introduction.
Sure. Firstly, thanks Soumya to you as well for inviting me over. I think we are going to have a really interesting conversation. So really looking forward to this. So I am Varsha. I come from Kolkata. I have done my master's in computer applications from here itself. And then in 2018, I got my first internship in Bangalore. So I've stayed in Bangalore for a couple of years. Moved to Bangalore, and that is where the journey begins as a software engineer. So I landed up my first internship at a product-based MNC, and after 6 months of internship, got the full-time offer and started my journey as a software engineer. So initially, played around with different tech stacks and switched different teams. I worked on Python, Ruby on Rails, a bit of JavaScript, but at the core, I was always a Java developer. So right now, I am a Java backend developer, and after 5 years of staying in that company, I switched last year to Airtel. Right now, I'm working as a Java backend developer in Airtel, and it has been a really interesting journey so far. Lot of things to learn and unlearn at the same time. Apart from my full-time job, during COVID, I started my YouTube channel also, which was focused towards helping the juniors in solving DSA. So that is how it started. Right now, the focus of my channel is more towards giving back to the community of whatever things I've learned so far. So I'm having 6.5 years of experience as of now. So right now I do a lot of videos around Java and Spring Boot itself, and also towards system design, about software engineering, productivity, and all those things. So, and apart from that, I also write technical articles on Medium. So not very consistent, but that is also something which I really enjoy doing apart from doing the videos on my channel. So yeah, that is about my journey. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah, obviously. Great, Varsha. I mean, I believe that this podcast is going to be really helpful for the audience, and we are going to learn a lot from this. This is one of the frequent questions that I've got. You know, that now these days there have been a lot of competition, right? If I'm going to compare it with 3 to 4 years back. So what do you think that nowadays students should, the skills that they should learn so that they can set themselves apart from the crowd?
Yeah, Soumya. So I think this is a very interesting question. Not much talked about, because nowadays, if you see everywhere on social media, especially LinkedIn, there's a set blueprint, a set guide which is given, and it develops a herd mentality for everyone is following the same roadmap, the same set of questions, and not everyone is getting the results that they desire to be, because obviously you cannot really differentiate yourself if you're following the same path as everyone else is, solving 150 lead code questions and doing 10-15 system design questions, and they think they'll land up a good software engineering job and try to set themselves apart from everyone else, and that is not happening, and the grind is on year after year. So all of us know the struggle, right? So coming to the point of competition, it is rightly so, because competition has to be there. Software engineering is such a lucrative field. Everyone wants to get into it. With a little bit of coding knowledge, they just want to get into it and be a part of this industry. So hence the competition. Now, the point of setting yourself apart can be subjective. It varies on a number of factors, primarily your skill set, your hard skills. And I like to divide it in two parts. One is your hard skills, the technical skills which we are taught or we learn. The second is your soft skills. Things, very simple things as like communication, right? Effective business communication, or maybe, dealing or navigating your career path. Every single day in our job is so different. So navigating through the ups and downs correctly. So now coming to what are the skill set, like what you need to have. See, you cannot say that you will be know-it-all. No, none of us know everything of the language or the framework what we work on. The number one trait which you must have in yourself if you really want to stand out is your curiosity and your nature of solving problems. Maybe identifying problems and solving it on your own without asking for help much. If you are very curious about things and you want to solve problems on your own, this kind of mindset is actually going to take you so far. Even if you have not solved many even if you have not solved many complex problems or anything like that, but just because you're curious about things and want to solve it on your own, this one trait is going to be, it's a very rare trait. It's going to set you apart for sure. Second thing, like I said, the soft skills you should also work on. See, I've seen many different, I've worked with so many different, I've worked on like four to five different teams in my entire career so far. And I've seen so many different people who are like top-notch developers, very efficient developers. But at the same time, they have so poor communication skills, they're not even able to explain their thought process, what they're trying to do. And eventually, as a result of this, the person who is not very pro in problem solving or in coding, but has like fabulous communication skills, is getting the promotion after one promotion after another. Why is this happening? The reason is they are trying to strike the right balance between the hard skills and the soft skills. So finding a right balance and not just doing one thing again and again, trying to improvise, trying to do some, retrospection on what are your strengths and weaknesses, seek a mentor, okay, talk to your seniors in the industry. So these are certain things which you need to do to not be the same engineer every day, to not be the same person every day. I think this is one thing which you must do to set yourself apart. Be like Steve Jobs rightly said, be hungry, be foolish. So that is one mantra which I really believe in. So this is something which you must do to stand yourself apart from the crowd.
Great. I really agree with the points that you have specified, especially the one that you said, right? You have to be curious about the things, because it's not that if today I am a Java developer or you are working on Java, tomorrow also we'll be working on the same. It's not going to happen. But we should have that willingness to learn whatever comes our way. So I agree on that. Well, Varsha, it all started from a hello world, stepping into the coding thing, and then, having the dream of becoming a software engineer. So I just wanted to know, see, once you have got the placement, so somewhere you stopped looking over the things, or you stopped being consistent over the coding thing. So what do you think that how important it is to be consistent with the coding, and what are the resources that you believe one should follow for the same?
Okay. Sure. See, I think this is it's a ground rule that one should be consistent with practicing certain things in order to be, there's a thing like 10,000 hours of practice makes someone perfect. So same with any kind of skill, any kind of hard skill. So coding being one of them, that you have to practice every single day, grind your questions one after another, and then you will become very, let's say, really, really pro in DSA. But I have a slightly different perception towards this. Now, honestly, you also know this, Soumya, you're also working. We do not have time every single day to practice coding problems, nor do we have the mental bandwidth to invest our time in learning DSA and then doing solving the problems. Not everyone is able to do that, because at our full-time job only we have so many different problems to deal with. Then we don't have much mental energy to sit and solve DSA problems, or maybe read about some system design. Not every day is possible, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing. You should block maybe 2 to 3 days in a week in which you should be trying to solve these problems. But apart from solving problems, what I think, we have this notion of platforms like LeetCode and HackerRank, where we'll solve these number of questions, and then you can say you are efficient in DSA and you can crack any interview. So this is this notion that practice 2 questions every day, you will cover 150 questions and you are done. But I have a slightly different perception towards this, is because I cannot say that you are a good problem solver. Like software engineering is nothing but problem solving. I cannot say you are a good problem solver if you just solve these X number of questions or just do X number of case studies in a system design. It is an ever evolving landscape. All of us know this. Every single day is so different. So rather than doing this, it is up to you. Of course, as a beginner, you must solve problems. I think all of us, we started our journey with this. We have to know the basics of DSA, the algorithms, everything. That is fine. But my thing is, apart from practicing problems consistently, one thing we should focus about is to build something on your own, a project, a series of projects. Instead of doing 10 to 15 lead code questions, why not build 10 to 15 projects over the period of time, 3 months, 6 months? For college students, they have the luxury of time. So why not build small projects and put it up on GitHub? Out of that, after like 5-6 years, you'll have a handful of great projects, and that kind of skill which you will build over the time will make you a more efficient problem solver than anybody else, I believe. So consistently practicing problem is one thing which everyone says, but consistently building projects is going to give you a different edge over everyone else. And for that, you don't need to do much. Whatever you have learned, start implementing it. Again, the point of curiosity and problem solving comes into the picture. Try to look for problems around you and start solving it. So I think practicing problems is one thing, but to be able to build a series of projects and thereby showcasing your ability to solve problems is a different game altogether. And like Soumya has already pointed out, that point of setting yourself apart, this is also another thing, that don't follow the herd where everyone else is going. Have your own path, your own journey, and try to become better in that. Just compare yourself with what you were before yesterday and what you are today, and in that way, the better you get every single day, you will see you'll end up in a completely different position at the end of the year, so to say. So I think this is one thing which you should be consistently doing it, rather than practicing some problems. Lead code problems and all don't always come to use in our everyday coding job, right? So whatever we do is very different from what is given on lead code. So it's very misguided structure of format that we follow. That is a different question. But the thing is, please try to incorporate building things on your own. Okay, you can also maybe write blogs or anything, but whatever you learned, just try to document it, write a blog on it. That is also going to help you. And coming to the resources point, which you asked, Soumya, I think there's a ton of resources. Like I cannot really say. We also get lost in the sea of information that we have, right? There's so many resources that we have to learn, but I think we should stick to the basics. Like, for example, when it comes to Java, don't get too deep into it. Just learn the basic pillars, like a breadth first search we have, right? So your learning should also be like, know the main things which you should know, like the OOPS concept, exception handling, design patterns, then Java lambdas and streams. So these are some of the areas which you have to know and be able to write code in those. So this is something on Java. On DSA, know the basic DSA at least, the list, list, map, set, queue, stack. So you should be knowing how to work with the basic data structures at least, and know the algorithm, sorting, searching algorithm to be very basic. And coming to system design, for freshers, not much required, but as you go 2 to 3 years senior, then you would need it. Again, don't see like how to design a URL shortener question like we see. So don't just jump into those questions. First, understand what are the building blocks. Why do you need system design? When do we need system design? First, approach from first principles thinking, and then go into your whatever resource you find yourself comfortable. Now, resources can be two types. Like on my channel, I do videos. That is a video format, but some people might be okay with textual format. So they can read blogs or articles. There's a lot of different courses which are just on text-based format. So whatever suits you, whatever you are comfortable with, go with that resource. It is not like if Soumya has gone through this resource or Varsha has gone through this resource, I should also go with this. It is not like that. You just have to experiment. I think all of us have experimented a lot when it comes to learning, and then only we have stuck to some like go-to resource at the end of the day, which we'll refer to. So yeah, that
Definitely,
is
Varsha. it does make sense. And the point that you specified regarding projects, right? So many of the times freshers are asking like what to mention in the experience. We don't have any experience as of now. Even students are struggling with the same who are looking for internships. So that is a very great thing. Like you can make the projects, and that is what you can put over there. You can just showcase it. And as you said, right, so you have to showcase whatever you are doing. It's not just you are making
Yeah.
it own and then nobody knows what you are
Yeah,
doing.
building
There
in
are so
public, like they say.
exactly
Yeah.
that's the point. So showcase the things whatever you are doing. I mean, there are so many platforms where recruiters over there, they just caught an eye over like what exactly you are doing, and
Yeah,
perhaps you can get an opportunity as well from there. So
definitely. Like you, if I may add, like you might have seen somebody was looking for a graphic designer position, and we have seen this many times. Now, that person also wanted to apply to certain companies, so he just redesigned the entire, I think, the icon or something of the assets of that particular website, and he put it up on LinkedIn. And like we know, he also got the job, like he got an offer from that company, right? So this is how it works. If you follow that herd mentality, I'll solve this question, this blueprint, whoever has given me, and then I'll get a call from the company. It will not work like that. You have to be little unique. Everybody who gets call from good companies, right, they have some unique, some USP in them. That is why they are maybe pulled into that company. Otherwise, it is just the same grind.
right.
Every single day you have to be the same. Very recently, I also did a project which was something I don't think anybody has done before, because I was preparing for AWS Solutions Architect certification, and I was piling up a lot of resources. Like in my PowerPoint, I was just putting this practice question and that practice question, and I ended up with around 200 slides on that PPT. And you know that sitting and revising is something which we are all lazy to do. That whatever we learned on day one, we don't just want to sit and revise. So I was like, okay, how will I force my mind into revising it every single day? What if there was some kind of a notification which would come and will give me the questions that I should be revising? So then I used the AWS stack and the different services, and also Twilio API I used to build a sort of notification service which will come to my WhatsApp every single day with the exact questions, like a flashcard. And it will come to my phone, and I'll at least have a certain set of questions to revise. Somebody is like sending me random questions and just helping me revise, instead of me sitting and opening that 200 long slide wala PPT. So it's like spotting small problems in your day-to-day life and trying to use technology to solve those problems is something which is going to give you a different edge. Not everyone is doing it. I would say none of us don't even think of doing it. We just follow the same kind of project. Everyone is building this, I will also build this. But yeah, that really helps if you have that mentality from day one. We have learned it over 6 years. I have learned it over 6 years, but yeah, it's always helpful if you have it from day one.
Yeah, but that's great. Like after watching this, so many freshers, students, and those who are just starting will get to know it now. Well, Varsha, as you said that you have more than 6 years of experience now in industry, so I believe that you must have interviewed certain candidates as well, right? So, I mean, although we are saying the things, but coding is definitely an important part out of it. So I just wanted to know, when you are hiring the candidates, interviewing them, then what are the things that you are looking for in a candidate approach of writing the code, other than just solving the problem? So what do you exactly see? That if you can
Yes, sure. So when we say coding, it all boils down to, like I said, solving a certain problem. And when you solve a certain problem, the most important thing which we have to know, that the thought process behind solving a problem is very important. So when you sit with the interviewer, let's say, as a candidate, and you're given a problem to solve, you cannot sit and just start writing the solution. It doesn't work like that. So the thumb rule is, Whatever problem is given to you, you sit with it 2-3 minutes, think about it, brainstorm about it, maybe create some diagram of it, and just communicate with your interviewer that this is what I understood and this is what I think it to be. Are we on the same page? If both of you are on the same page and he has kind of approved it, then you take your one step further and go into maybe coding the solution or making some more design on that. And that is how you start a conversation. So the number one thing which you should be doing as a candidate when you're going to any interview is to have a great communication with your interviewer and communicate your thought process, whatever you thought about the solution or about the problem, and communicate to the interviewer. If your thought process is not clear, then you may come up with an inaccurate solution which the interviewer is not expecting. So why not clear it off in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the interview? First, both of you, it's like, please understand, any interview is not a one-sided game. Your interviewer also wants you to win, and he also wants you to be a part of your company, of the company. So he is always there to help you out. So that is why I'm saying, repeating this point of being on the same page. Communicate effectively, brainstorm your ideas, learn how to draw nice diagrams. Like, I'm not saying any fancy diagram, a simple flow diagram. A flow chart is something which we have all learned from childhood in schools, like a flow chart kind of a thing. Whatever you're given the problem, if this happens then else this happens, something like that. Just draw it out. That visual thing of a diagram is also going to give you more brownie points in the interview, that okay, you are visualizing the problem, which means you are trying to understand at least. And as an interviewer, I can help you even to break it down further. And eventually both of us want what? We want to develop an accurate, a correct, a functionally correct solution. That is what our goal is. So this is one thing which you should be doing as a candidate when you are being interviewed.
Got it. I completely agree on this part. As you said, right? So many of the candidates are doing this mistake, that a problem is given. Let's take a lead code problem itself. They have already solved it. So what they're doing, they know, okay, how this has to be done. They are simply coming up with a code and just writing it down. So this will create, it will put a wrong impression in front of interviewer. The right way it should be that first you are discussing about it, then coming up with a brute force, then because you have to show the interviewer, he or she doesn't want to see if you can solve it or not. They just want to evaluate your problem solving skills, that how you are starting with a approach, and then slowly you have come up with an optimal solution.
Exactly. Like, to add to your point, why are we taking an interview? Also understand this as a candidate. I want you to be a part of my company, right? So we will actually sit and solve a company's business problem. As a team, we will be sitting, and over there, if you are not communicating your points effectively to the team, then how do you expect the software to be delivered on time? Like, everyone is thinking on their own lines. I think all of us have also faced this in many scenarios, right? Many people are like in the team who just want to keep things to themselves. They don't overshare. They don't share only, forget about oversharing. So they just like to think and keep the solution to themselves, and they will just sit and code all day long. They don't want to be a part of any meeting. So the point of the interview is like, tomorrow you have to come and perform in the job. And tomorrow when you have to come and perform in the job, I want you to understand me. I want me to understand you as well. So both of us should be aligned. Otherwise, we will not be able to fulfill the objective of meeting our deadlines or the projects, whatever we are doing. So from that perspective, interview is the first step of assessing whether a candidate is a suitable person for me to work in a team tomorrow when he joins the company. So you have to think from that perspective, not about a problem you're solving. In my interviews, in which I was a candidate, many interviews, it has been that I have not been able to solve the question correctly, completely, okay? But I got the encouragement, the support from the interviewer who helped me think through the solution, gave me certain hints, and then I communicated, and then I understood where I went wrong, and then I rectified it, and I finally got to somewhat correct solution. So this is the real scenario, what happens. Nobody is trying to, in a job, nobody is going to tell you, hey, you don't know this, you cannot work, something like that doesn't happen. Everyone wants to work collaboratively. So interview is a very collaborative process. Many of us are very scared of it, right? Even sometimes, even I am scared of an interview, but I always like to think this, it's a collaborative process. I have to see if my interviewer is a person with whom I can work in a team. If he is that kind of a person, I'll be happy to work with him in the team. Same, that person should also think about me, right? So both of us have to make each other very comfortable. Yeah.
Agreed on this, Varsha, and I really appreciate like how well you have put up about this question. So I remember that you were specifying about system design, right? So I remember that initially there was not too much things or too much buzz about system design, but now even it's a part of the interview. Even freshers are getting questions around it. So how do you think that how important it is, especially when it comes to the senior roles?
Okay. Yes, what you said is so true, that earlier when I started my journey, we didn't even know this thing called system design. Okay, even these terms like load balancer and reverse proxy are something which we should know. I had no idea back then, like 5 years back. Now it has become like a complete module, a complete course in itself. Okay, like a CS fundamental thing it has become, apart from DSA. First, I think we need to understand why system design has become so much of a buzz nowadays. The very first reason why it has become such a buzz is because system design is nothing but you being able to build large-scale systems, keeping the customer or the end user in mind, so that their user experience is not bad. And also at the same time, there are many different jargons which I can use, but basically it is about, from a business perspective, I have a system, I'm giving it to my user. The user should be able to interact with it. My system should be available 24/7, so that anytime he is doing some transaction, it is available and he is also happy and I'm also happy, I'm getting the revenue. So this is what basically the point of having a good system design is. Like our YouTube, for example, our food delivery apps like Zomato, Swiggy. I want to order food at 3 a.m. in the night. So my system should be such that even if I'm wanting to order at 3 a.m. in the night, I should be able to. The app should not crash, right? That is the crux of being able to do the system design. That is the reason why it is so important these days. Coming to freshers being interviewed, I think it's not fair, because as a fresher, what we should focus on is mainly about if they're the ground rules, like if you're able to solve problems, or if you're able to think creatively about some problem, that part is okay. But if at all system design comes to your interview and you need to be prepared, I think the only thing which you should know is to be aware of the terms. Like I said, this availability, scalability, cap theorem. Now these are very common. Like if you Google just building blocks of system design, you will get a lot of articles on that. So just be aware of the terms and technologies and jargons which we use when we are trying to design a system. At least if you be part of this meeting, you'll be able to understand what your seniors are talking about. Because when we were there, we didn't understand a thing what these were until these blogs and courses came out. So that was a struggle for us back then, but it is not, because you have a lot of resources. So go through the building blocks first. If you have time and interest, of course, you can read through some case studies. So this is thing which is sorted for freshers. This much should be good to go as a fresher. Now coming to seniors, when you start moving from 2 years to 3 years of experience, system design becomes a crucial part of the interview. Over there, apart from the building blocks, you might have also worked on, maybe you have used certain components, like you may have, let's say, used an API gateway, you may have used a reverse proxy, or you may have used a load balancer, CDN. So over there, what matters is, there you shouldn't limit yourself to the understanding of the definition of that component. You should be able to demonstrate in your interview if you are able to use this. I mean, have you ever used it? If you have used, what are the industry-wide technologies? Let's say for CDN, we have Cloudflare, we have AKMI. So you should be at least able to give some names. What are the things which you have used? And also, you should know the trade-offs. Like when to use the SQL database, when to use a NoSQL database, the trade-off between, let's say, latency and throughput. Okay, in the cap theorem, what does it mean? And what is the difference between eventual consistency? What will happen when you face like when you have to design a system on eventual consistency? How would you do it? So you have to little bit go one level deep and think from scenarios perspective. No matter what product you have built on, every one of us use some component of system design at least. If you have worked on it, you can say I have worked on XYZ component. Then the interviewer is going to grill you on those components. So be very super clear about those components which you have worked on. That is one thing. Always remember, your interview can be on many things, but it always is on what you have worked on. If you have worked on something and you have put it on your resume and you don't know about it, then that is a bad impression which you are leaving. So be clear about what you have worked on and gather as much information as possible on that particular tech stack or product or service. And then you go to your interview. I think that is going to solve 20-30% of your system design interviews worries for you. The rest comes to the case studies, like how to design, let's say, a travel website, or how to design a food delivery app. So these are something, not any brand name specific, don't go by brand names, but try to understand from a user perspective how this is working. And one more point, last point I want to add is system design is broken into two parts. Low level system design, high level system design. So far I was talking about the high level system design. When it comes to low level system design, this is more about your coding, right? Your design patterns, so to say. This is important even for freshers. So even if you don't know high level system design as a fresher, a low level design, how to apply OOPS concept, encapsulation, polymorphism, how you are using, how to use the solid principles, having the right breakdown of classes, these are something which even freshers can be asked about. So I would say learn about the low level design first to be able to write code in the right framework that you are using, that first, and then slowly move to your high level system design. Because at the end of the day, what is the smallest unit of work? We are given some Jira and we have to write code, and the code has to align with the OOPS concept, let's say. So that is something which even a fresher has to do, which even a senior has to do. So let us tackle that point first, and then we will go to the high level system design, the building blocks and components, and then the case study. So I think this should be the way of preparing for system design, be whatever your experience.
Got it. I believe, Varsha, it was a great discussion with you. I mean, so many points, so many things that we discussed today in this podcast. But there is this one question that I would like to ask to you. So, Varsha, this question I have got frequently, that let's say if there's a fresher who want to start their journey in Java domain, because you already know that is so demanding, right? And I believe in coming years also that will be in demand. And if there is someone who was working in some other domain and now they want to do a domain switch, so what is that roadmap that you believe one should follow and can be helpful for them during their journey of preparation?
Sure. Okay. So in Java domain, there can be two tracks that one can follow. One is the Java backend development that we know, and another is Java full stack development. So I am a backend developer primarily, but when it comes to full stack is nothing but the combination of front end and back end. So when you want to become a Java full stack developer, basically you need to have the proficiency in the front end frameworks. JavaScript, you have to have the knowledge of that. Apart from that, frameworks like AngularJS or React.js is going to be super helpful. And knowledge of TypeScript is also quite in demand. So if you at all want to become a Java full stack developer, apart from your backend stack, if you're good in the backend stack, I would advise you to focus on these front end frameworks and try to build some single page application on some projects using these frameworks, and then you should be good to go. Then you should be good to go for any interview on full stack Java developer. Now I want to talk a bit about the Java backend development, because the stack of backend development is huge. Like the day of a backend developer is so much packed with so many things which we have to keep in our mind. I've recently posted a video also on my channel in which I've shared a roadmap of the entire backend development that one needs to do. And it is actually very exhaustive list of things. The reason why it is very exhaustive is because backend developer people think it is just about writing APIs. Now, if you really want to be a good backend developer, just writing REST APIs is not the end of your work. There's a lot of different things which you have to keep in mind when you're writing the APIs. For example, you have to keep logging in mind. You have to keep secure coding practices in your mind. Then you have to also think about containerization using Docker for your code. At the same time, you have to think about logging frameworks which you should be using. And I'm not even going inside the point of using design patterns for your code to be able to adhere to the RESTful principles, API principles when you're writing. There are so many things which you have to keep in your mind. And again, I'm not even going to the authorization, the JWT part and everything. So given this complex interlinked dependencies of the tools and technologies that we need to know as a backend developer, hence I have put up a detailed roadmap on that. So just want to talk about that. If you want to become a backend developer, the first thing which you should be doing is to have your solid knowledge on your programming language. If it is a Java, of course, then with that you should know the framework, which is Spring framework, the Spring or Spring Boot framework. So these two things you have to first know. The second thing which you have to know is about the CS fundamentals, data structures algorithm, OOPS, and design patterns. So these are the foundation, like two pillars you can think. First, this is the first layer which should be very clear when you want to become, or maybe you want to switch tracks like Soumya mentioned. So that is one thing which should be the foundation. Next level comes about networking basics and web fundamentals, which you should be knowing, be it HTTP protocols, then DNS, TCP/IP protocol. So the networking principles, whatever it is there, the basics should be something which you have to know. And I think this is the most underrated thing which we just take for granted, that we don't even go into the networking basics. And later when we have to do some debugging on the server, we are just lost over there. We don't even know the basic Linux commands. So that is something which you have to first build on the foundation. After this, these two things are done. The next step which you have to go is, you have to know about databases, be it SQL database or NoSQL database. One language, like one SQL database, have a good understanding of that, SQL, MySQL. On the other hand, take any NoSQL database of your choice and get a good POC, some small project build on that. So databases is done, programming language and framework is done, your web and networking fundamentals is done. These three are sorted. The next thing which you have to know is about using version control, like Git. GitHub is very important, not as a backend developer, but for any kind of developer. So Git is something which you have to know. Git, Docker, Linux. These three are command based, like CLI based, right? So you have to know the commands of these very well. The next comes about the microservices architecture, DevOps principles, and also about the REST API, RESTful APIs principles. These are like principle oriented theoretical knowledge which you have to understand and try to incorporate when you're writing the code. So this is done. Then you have to know about Maven. Maven is the build tool that we use. So Maven and pom.xml, you should be able to play around with these. And once all of this is done, then finally cloud deployments, because we have to work on cloud every day. So most of the companies are already on cloud. So you have to understand how deployment on cloud works, the jargons, the services, let's say of AWS or GCP or Azure. You should be knowing the services, what is doing what. And additionally, we do have system design also in picture, because as I mentioned in the previous questions also, that is something which should be there by default. Just as you know the Java syntax, you should also know the system design components. Only then it is like both of them will work together for you to build a reliable software. So I think pretty much these are the technologies, like the tool set or the skill set, I would say, that every backend developer has to develop over time. Not possible in single day to cover all of this, of course. Slowly build on it. But yeah, you would definitely need all of these things in your mind. For more details, you can check out my video also. The link will be in the description.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Varsha. I believe that pretty much you have mentioned each tool, every tool that we do use, most of us on daily basis. So that was all the things. Now, guys, you don't have to feel overwhelmed, because as Varsha said that with time you are going to use them, you are going to learn the things, not on a single day. So I believe it was a great discussion with you. Again, thank you so much for being here. I believe the discussion we had is going to be really helpful for the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Soumya, again for inviting me over, and it was really insightful, because even I got to share a lot of things and also got to know from your experience couple of things. And I think, like you rightly mentioned, I hope this is going to be helpful to many people out there. So thank you so much again.